Hello and welcome to the show. I think we have one viewer. Thanks so much for watching. It's you and me, buddy. So this is Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, where I think there's going to be a huge move. Bing bong, the price is wrong. I think Bitcoin's potentially going to explode. There's two reasons. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reasons on the chart in front of us. And there is, in fact, two other big, important reasons. One being the CPI data coming out very soon. And the other being Valentine's Day, only joking. And the other being that we have drawn on Fib Time Zones and worked out that there is a little bit of potential coming up on these dates. Anyway, so over the next couple of days, we're going to expect Bitcoin to make a big move. And here's why, along with some really good lessons that'll help you make the most of big moves in future. Now, there's a couple of extra points I want to make. I'm going to start on Bitcoin futures chart and we're going to begin on the 2-day time frame. No, we're going to begin on the Bitcoin futures chart on the... Yes, we'll just stay on the 4-hour time frame, right? This is where it is, and this is where we're starting. So price action first, right? It's above the 200 period moving average. It's currently putting in lower lows and lower highs, but in the context of this part of the range, if we go back to, this part, you can see that there's clearly lower price action on the chart, and we're much more closer to the high than we are the lows from all the data that you're able to see at the moment, right? So, and above the 200 period moving average. Below the 50, and we have, what else have we got here? Our Bollinger Bands. Below we've got the RSI, Relative Strength Index. Below that we have the MACD, Moving Averages, Convergence, Divergence. Underneath that we have Rocky's DMI, and below that we have the Stochastics, and below that we have the HVP. So on the 4-hour time frame, price action is above the 200 period moving average. Now I would use that as a qualifier or a proxy for the trend. And when price is above the 200 period moving average, I'd take that as a good reason to be looking for bullish signals on trades. And it would be a disqualifier of bearish signals, and vice versa. If price action is below the 200 period, I might think that's a qualifier then for bearish signals and a disqualifier for bullish ones. But price action then above the 200 period moving average, you see lower lows, right? Now, this most recent low on price action, as you can see, downward sloping price action here, it's a higher low on the RSI. So you've got bullish divergence on the 4-hour futures chart on the RSI. And if we go over to Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame and look at that RSI, we've got a higher low that also means that what we constitute here a failure swing. So as well as the divergence, which we see on the futures chart, which has implications for the underlying, we also see that on that underlying, we've got an extra signal confirming that. If you were just exclusively looking at the Bitcoin chart and not paying attention to the futures, you might think, well, we're below the 200 period moving average, so that might put you off. But there's other things to look to, right? So we started on the futures chart on a 4-hour time frame. We said we're above the 200 period moving average. On the not Bitcoin chart, we're below the 200, but we've got positive things to look to here. And we're going to say, for example, that it may be that we're getting our signals on the futures chart ahead of Bitcoin itself, or at least that's giving context to our decisions. So, and here are, again, on the 4-hour, we've looked at the RSI. As you can see here, the MACD. Now, I'll turn the drawings off so it's slightly more obvious. The MACD, you've got your MACD crossing above the signal line from below the center line as your histogram is turning positive, and price action, as we said, is above the 200 period moving average. So that's a very positive signal, right? Now, these are all, if you're adding them together, probably help you improve your age and make money over time. Right, and then look down at Rocky's DMI, where you've got the strength of trend. Very strong, as represented by DMI here and the DI positive. And then down below that, we've got the stochastics, where the stochastics, the K is crossing above the D. I'll explain that in a second if you don't understand it. And we'll look at the HVP on higher time frames in a moment where it's more reliable. So this is a very bullish signal we have potentially coming up if we use the 200 period moving average for a qualifier and look at the divergence we have on the RSI, the cross we've got on the MACD, the strength of trend, despite these conditions, which are hard to decipher the trend, as we spoke about, it's ambiguous. There's lower lows, but there's higher highs. You've got the strong strength of trend as represented by the DMI, and you have a positive cross by the stochastics, which themselves are gone through from, crossed in an oversold area. That would be below 20. And then, like I say, so HBV. So that's very interesting on the 4-hour futures chart on Bitcoin. Wouldn't you agree? And then we'll go back to Bitcoin itself and look at those indicators. As well as having the failure swing, you can see that this RSI is now turned orange on the 4-hour because the RSI is crossing back above. It obviously is taken from closing prices, so it's not completely confirmed if you know how the RSI works. But if you don't, take the course, link in description, technicalanalysis.school. And at this point, you're getting a confirmation of that signal with it going back above its own moving average. The MACD, stretch this guy out. Also getting your cross, that's being tested. And it's coming from below the center line, price action below the 200. But if we're using the 4-hour chart to take our signals on that trend, then potentially that's still okay. And again, strength of trend strong despite the fact the price action is ambiguous. Stochastics giving us a potential turn to the top side. Now that comes above 20, but still it matches up with the signal and certainly doesn't negate that, which we see on the futures chart. So that's the 4-hour, where there's a lot of information. And bing bong, the price is wrong. HVP is also a very good indication of potential volatility. But as Rocky and I dictate a lot, or explain a lot of in the course with how you use Bollinger Bands, they also give you a very strong signal with regards to volatility. And check out the course to find out more, but you're getting a very strong potential signal coming up now on that 4-hour time frame there. So a lot of really interesting information. Go to the 2-day time frame and we'll look then at a very important signal, which is like the, Tradespotting likes to put this on the bing bong trades. Way that this would work would be if you get a reading below 10 and then go back above your moving averages, the signal is on for the bing bong. And price action, then when it crosses or finds support at the important moving average, you could expect an explosion in price action, especially in particular if you have all the other signals lined up. And these would be ducks, and I would be a very large gun. And they're just about to line up right, and I don't even need them to, and they're going to. So that's very handy. Thanks very much, ducks. Right, so you have this prior high, 24.5. That's a topside target if this does explode and move to the top side based on Bitcoin's future, Bitcoin's previous highs on, not on the future, on Bitcoin chart. 24.5. 200 period moving average is at 27. And if I think if we break to the top side, we take our cue from this chart where we're getting the final confirmation of our signal, having held the 50 simple here, having broken our prior highs back here, I think we're aiming for the 200 period moving average. If we go to the futures chart, and we'll stick here with the 2-day time frame there. No, wait. I don't want to make that point yet. Yes, on the 4-hour time frame, you'd have to go through this 24 to make it to 27, right? Obviously, and that's the prior high, and we pointed that out. If you were to fall back down again then, perhaps using Bitcoin and the fake out zones from the Bitcoin chart as opposed to the futures chart, we can see that a fake out would say if Bitcoin doesn't manage to get back above 22.2 or gets there and fails, or gets there and even worse is rejected, then that might be an early signal prices are breaking down, because we don't have definitive direction here from the HVP, though our other signals suggest that it could be bullish. So this is what we're looking at. And if it does break down, what do we anticipate happening then in terms of what is our target? Well, I suggest the target is $20,000, because if we look back and see what we were talking about here, well, there is perhaps, if you're paying attention and you're looking at this entirety of the data that's presented to you here, you'll notice that I've marked out other areas which I haven't actually spoke about or directed your attention to with this big pink flippy dildo here, as people call it, a cursor. And those areas are very important, because If it is that our signals and that pattern that they're giving us, which is true that it's doing it as it has done before, if that signal is to break down, then we might look for all of those indicators to move to the other side of the trend, to go to the other extreme and to get confirmations that price is going to break down. So in that, you would look back to previous levels where price retraced and or where price came from for this potential retracement, and it came through this part of this impulse move. This part being important because subsequent to this, price then began to behave differently from the volatility profile that it expressed here. The volatility profile being the dispersal of prices over a range, which are also that can see the consistency of that in the manifestation of these Bollinger Bands and their parallel integrity throughout this trend. That then began to change. Massive hint there, right? So that you would look back to this point, and if you do then also, just to confirm that, look to these indicators. What do we see currently? You're testing the bearish control zone, and the RSI's recovered from previous move. This break through this area was at the exact opposite, and the mirror rotation of that point is what we see here. Same can be said for the MACD. It was also going through that same change. Then we got exactly the same situation in terms of a mirror symmetry on the DMI. This indicator itself, and the way Rocky has it set up, gives you a number of vectors to understanding the strength of trend, and in both of those two main ways you're also seeing that symmetry. And then again at the stochastics, you've got this potential cross that's coming from the oversold. And then there previously it was the exact opposite, up and overbought. So there's an awful lot going on in various ways that will allow you to draw abstract connections, which will also provide you with some veracity over their original thesis. And that's some of the ways you can use price action in the past to help you. So the stochastics then, what are they? Because a lot of people ask me about the stochastics, and they're not an integral part of how to do TA. They're definitely never going to be the reason you did or didn't make money that day, but they can help to know. And I do know, so I'll tell you about them. They were invented in 1950 by a lovely chap called George Lang. The oscillator is a momentum indicator that compares closing prices to prices over a period of time. Yes, so that's essentially what it is. The guy that invented it, George, he liked the idea of using it to measure or predict, let's say, reversals, because in the way that it's constructed, this is it here. You have the K and the D line, right? The K, that's derived from price action, and the D, that's derived from a moving average of price, and the way that the oscillator then calculates it. And so because that's calculated, using a closing price compared to prices over a period of time, it's different from the RSI, which is done on the conclusion and the close. So the RSI may be more useful to you in its original intention and purposes used during trending moves, though if you've taken the course, you'll know very well how to use it in the other ways. And then the stochastics you might use when there isn't a clear trend, which speaks to why it's called stochastics, right? Because there's a spastic trend. That's what these words mean, right? So, that's what that means, right? So there's price action below the 200 period moving average, and that's why we're not sure which way direction is going to go on price action. So nor are we 100% confirmation with that trend if we're using the 200 period moving average as a proxy for it. And we can see that we've put in most recently a lower low than previous lows within the trend. So we might say that perhaps it is again questionable whether it is in an uptrend or a downtrend, i.e. there is no clear trend. And that is why there is a potential huge move coming on Bitcoin, because of the volatility, the trend, the momentum, and we'll get confirmation with the volume. Again, you're above your own moving average. That's the first thing you like to see. If this starts increasing and creating higher highs, that would be taken as perhaps the final confirmation a new trend is in motion. And if you're watching this show, if you've been watching for a couple of years, if you've been trading before that and you're a competent trader, you'll know that the key to your success is risk management. The way that you get rich is compounding that sensible behavior, and the product of it is profit. You will also know that every so often it doesn't hurt to have a fantastic trade go your way. And I'm Tradespotter. I'm known for spotting them. So hit that like and subscribe button so you make sure you don't miss out on any of them. Right, what has everybody been saying? Just let me check in. Don't think I've missed anything there. That's positive news. Just let me check here if there's any notifications on this guy. It's there, isn't it? 19 months. Who is that? It's yourself, Drew Soul. Great to see you. 19 months? Wow. Awesome. Right, so today, and today's show comes off the back of a little voice chat that Jackie was doing on the Discord. There, it was free for everybody to join in. He was discussing divergence and chatting about the RSI. Well worth being there for. Great value considering it's free. Get yourself over to the Discord. It'll change your life. Those same people there, some of them, you never know who it is you're talking to on the internet. And they did an amazing job at getting me returned to Twitter, despite the fact that I had been permanently banned for life across all profiles, and it was confirmed by multiple human beings who had swear they had checked, and what I did was grossly, awfully, terribly, stabbed me in the eye with a poo cover stick. It was absolutely disgusting. How could you dare do that, spotter? But then, thanks to the power of the good people in Rocky Outcrops Discord, I'm completely reinstated, and I'm profile is clean as a whistle. Very few human beings on earth can say that, right? So shout out to the amazing people in Rocky Outcrops Discord to help with that. Thanks very much. There's the pink collector. Could you explain the stochastic settings and who people adjust them based on time frames? Yes, to everybody in the Discord, thanks very much. Yes. For everybody on the Discord, if I haven't already explained to you how the D and the K work and the purpose for using them, then I can definitely focus on it more in the Discord. Thanks very much for the donation, Jackie. If you use that YouTube link, especially if you're using it from a phone or iPhone, Apple takes 30% off the top. YouTube will then take 30% off that, and then there'd be fees too. So if you were given, say, a $5, at the end of what I'll see is perhaps less than $2. Whereas if you use the link below, I'd see all of it, right? That's something to think about. And it is a good idea to think about those things. So if you want to take the course, you'll benefit yourself more than anybody else, but it's certainly a good decision to make, and it will, you'll also be able to then get the referral fees for selling to other people. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to just stick it out in the cheese sandwich factory for another 2 years, and then I'll have the money to be taking Tradespotting's course and trading. Well, you can get a PayPal. They do a system where you pay them every week or month or whatever. And also you'll have a referral fee, so you can then get 10% for selling the course. If you sell 2 of them, and thereafter you'll get 25%, right? So a lot more money than you get for working at the cheese sandwich factory. And it's a very good product, right? So people who go on to be traders will find some structured learning environment. It's likely to be as good as that one. So, if you're on the course, use your links. And thanks very much, Jackie, for the support, Drew Soul for the 19 months, and everybody else for tuning in, hitting the like button, and supporting this show. I really appreciate all the support from members. We've got a live member stream tomorrow. That'll be exclusively for channel members, and they'll be happening on Tuesdays from now on to say how much I appreciate them, and then provide more direct and targeted help. You don't have to donate, just get more attention where I'll be able to direct better learning for you, which is the idea for members. So everybody will be able to enjoy that. That's brilliant. If you want to support me on Patreon, that's really appreciated. Thanks. There is no direct product in return for doing it. But that would be appreciated. And anyone who supports the stream here, it's also really appreciated. Thanks, because it costs money. It's not free, and it cost me £8 on aggregate last week, and I can't have that happening because, this is supposed to be helping people. So it's 2 years in nearly. It can't be costing me. So thanks very much, everybody. And I'll see you for the member stream tomorrow. Bitcoin looks like it'll explode. It might take up to a couple of days. Pay attention. CPI data tomorrow probably doesn't take all that long. Thanks. See ya.